Hey guys, Daredevil Coaster Riders here. Today, I'm doing a 15 predictions that Canada's Wonderland is going to do before the year 2030. And Canada's Wonderland had a great decade already since they added two new coasters, a B&M Giga, the world's first Leviathan, and the world's tallest, fastest, longest B&M dive coaster, Yukon Striker. And I'm hoping this upcoming decade, Canada's Wonderland will have a better decade. They'll do more things, they'll add more things, they'll add more new coasters, and fix up the park a bit. And here's what I think will happen before the year 2030. Number 1. Canada's Wonderland is going to try to fix up the themed areas of the park like Action Zone, Medieval Fair, and other parts of the park. Make them better before the year 2030 because I think Canada's Wonderland needs to improve their areas, bitch. They have good areas, but they need to fix them up, make them better, make them nicer to attract more guests before 2030. Number 2. Canada's Wonderland is going to do some improvements to the water park before 2030 because as of right now, the water park at Canada's Wonderland Splashworks isn't at its good shape right now, and I'm hoping Canada's Wonderland will improve it, make it better, make it nicer to attract the crowds because I know a lot of people don't like the water park at Canada's Wonderland and a lot of the Cedar Fair parks have better water parks, but this one, they'll make it better, attract the crowds again, make it a popular park, maybe change the name before the year 2030. Number 3. Canada's Wonderland's interval of new roller coasters will be every 2 to 3 and maybe 4-year intervals because since Leviathan and Wonder Mountain's Guardian took 2 years and then 5 years later Yukon Striker came, and I'm going to have to say 2023 or 2024 is going to be the next coaster year for Canada's Wonderland since they were trying to fix up their coaster lineup, make it better, and try to remove some attractions that are not that popular. So 2023 will be the next coaster year. It would have been 4 years after Yukon Striker in 2019. Number 4. Canada's Wonderland's going to remove Time Warp and Flight Deck before the year 2030 because those two rides are not that popular and a lot of people hate those rides because with Time Warp, when it first opened in 2004, it was known as the Tomb Raider, and then when Cedar Fair bought the Paramount Park, it was renamed to Time Warp, and then with Flight Deck, since it used to be called Top Gun, and then when Cedar Fair bought the park, they renamed it to Flight Deck, and then with Time Warp, it's a really rough ride, and it's a really weird model that's out there, and it is an uncomfortable ride experience. I've hated it, and just one thing before they remove it, just get on these rides for the credits, then never ride them again because they are just so terrible, and Canada's Wonderland can remove it so they can like put something better, like a better type of coaster, which I'll get to in a second. Number 5. Canada's Wonderland is going to remove Wild Beast, Dragonfire, Riptide, and Speed City Raceway before 2030, and Medieval Fair will never be the same after those rides leave because Wild Beast and Dragonfire both opened up with the park in 1981 because those were the first couple of the original coasters that came to Canada's Wonderland when it first opened, and Riptide came in later, and then it's not that popular of a ride anymore. And Speed City Raceway, it is not that popular anymore because sometimes when people wait in line for Leviathan, sometimes there's a smell of gas from Speed City Raceway, and it's very bad, and I know a lot of people don't really go there since it's not that popular, and ridership for these 3 rides are not that high because since they're old and not that popular and pretty rough. Before 2030, these rides will be gone and Medieval Fair will never be the same. Number 6. Canada's Wonderland is going to remove Timberwolf Falls before 2030 because Timberwolf Falls isn't that popular of a ride anymore, and it's a water ride, and a lot of theme parks have been removing the water rides, and a problem with Timberwolf Falls is it's Yukon Striker's above it, and it's really hard to maintain that ride since a ride is above it, and it'd be better if they remove this water ride so they can like replace it with something better for the future before 2030. Number 7. Either a B&M Wing coaster or a B&M Invert will come to Canada's Wonderland before 2030 because Canada's Wonderland has 3 B&Ms, and I think they need one more to have a good B&M collection, and either a wing or an invert is needed, and they can put this in the land of time warp and flight deck, since they would just removed it, and it would be a perfect addition to Canada's Wonderland since there's no good wing coaster around here or inverted. And Canada's Wonderland's been wanting to get this type of ride, and it's perfect to put in their lineup of roller coasters, and it would make them be a park with 4 B&Ms in Canada. Number 8. Canada's Wonderland is going to do the RMC treatment to Wild Beast. They could extend it into Speed City Raceway spot since they would have just removed it, and that would be perfect for Canada's Wonderland since they need like another good RMC. They need an RMC since they don't have one, and there are no RMCs in Canada, and this would be a perfect addition to add an RMC to Canada. Or I could see them doing the RMC hybrid, the ground up version, on the spot of Wild Beast and Speed City Raceway. Or if Canada's Wonderland does not do the iBox track on Wild Beast or the ground up RMC, they could do an RMC T-Rex since RMC is still working on it, and it could be possible by 2025 that that RMC will have the RMC T-Rex developed, and they could put the RMC T-Rex in the spot of where those 2 rides are, Wild Beast and Speed City Raceway, and it'd be a perfect addition. Maybe make it 400 feet tall, the tallest RMC in Canada, maybe the tallest roller coaster in Canada, and the fastest in Canada. It would be perfect for Canada. It's Wonderland to have it. Number 9. Canada's Wonderland is going to add a launch coaster to the lineup of roller coasters. They'll add their second one since Backlot Stun Coaster in 2006. And I think this would be a perfect addition to Canada's Wonderland since Carowinds got Copperhead Strike by Mount Mock Rides, and that went pretty good. And I could see Canada's Wonderland getting something like this in their lineup of rides. A perfect addition somewhere maybe near Dragonfire and Riptide, and then maybe in the Speed City Raceway bit. And this would be perfect since Canada's Wonderland does not have another good launch coaster in Canada. The country does not have a launch coaster in Canada, and this would be perfect to add and make it have the most inversions on a launch coaster, longest, fastest, more intensifying than Copperhead Strike, which opened in 2019. Number 10. Canada's Wonderland is going to add a family ride. They're going to add a skater coaster, Zamperla skater coaster, in their lineup of rides because Canada's Wonderland needs another good family ride, and I think this would be a perfect addition before the year 2030 because there's not any one of these types around Canada, and this would be the first park in Canada to receive a Zamperla skater coaster since nowhere else but the Cedar Fair parks have been working with it, and they're going pretty good before 2030. Number 11. Canada's Wonderland's going to add a water coaster in their lineup of slides in the water park because Canada's Wonderland needs a water coaster, and I'm pretty sure Cedar Fair is going to work with water coasters, add those to their parks, and it'll be a perfect addition to all the Cedar Fair parks plus all in Canada's Wonderland since Canada's Wonderland's trying to fix up the park and make it a better park for people to visit. Number 12. Canada's Wonderland's going to add another thrill ride before 2030 since they're known as the thrill ride capital of the world. They're going to add a Screamin Swing because there's no Screamin Swings in Canada. Not one in Canada. If you look in Canada, there's none before 2030, and I think this is a perfect addition for Canada's Wonderland since they're known as the thrill capital of the world, and they're the park with the most thrill rides in the world, and they need to add something like this, maybe in the spot of Dragonfire since they would have removed it in Riptide, and it would look cool if they did this, or if they put just in Riptide and then Dragonfire gets a coaster, and Canada's Wonderland does not have this, but this is a perfect addition for the thrill rides. Number 13. Canada's Wonderland is going to invest in the kids area of the park for this time before 2030. They're going to add some new rides and then maybe add a new show because the kids section needs some renovations every decade, couple renovations every decade, and it would be perfect to see one before the year 2030 since the kids don't have many things, but it's a perfect addition since Planet Snoopy is the best in Canada's Wonderland right now. Number 14. Canada's Wonderland is going to add a Mac Power Splash before 2030 because Cedar Fair is going to start working with these types of water rides because since Cedar Fair is going to start removing all the other water rides, they're going to add this type of water ride because it looks like a lot more popular than the other one since this is a wet ride, and it would be perfect for Canada's Wonderland, and I'm pretty sure Cedar Fair is going to work with this type of ride. And it's perfect for the park because the park doesn't have this one, and if they remove Timberwolf Falls, they'll have to replace it, and this would go in the spot of Timberwolf Falls, make it a very wet one, make it include an inversion, and it's perfect for the park and all of Canada. 15 and final thing before 2030, Canada's Wonderland will add a good attraction, something like Forbidden Frontier at Cedar Point. Since the success of Forbidden Frontier at Cedar Point went good, Cedar Fair is going to add this to their other parks, and this would be a perfect addition to Canada's Wonderland. Theme it to Frontier Canada, or theme it to Medieval Fair, since they have some part of land, like they removed Dinosaurs Alive, which is near Planet Snoopy, and maybe theme it to Medieval Fair, and it would look cool, like make it a castle theme, make it have watercross, and if it's a perfect addition to Canada's Wonderland, since Cedar Point started with it, and now all the other Cedar Fair parks are going to start adding this, and it would look cool after they do it. It'll become very successful. It'll make Canada's Wonderland a nice place to visit for a long time before 2030. Thanks for watching. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to the channel if you can. Also, follow the social media if you want to, so you can get more updates on what's coming. See you in the next video, another 15 predictions or 10 with Great Adventure or Hershey Park. Peace out.